Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Infinite Rabbit Hole, December 31st, 2025. As we sit here tonight, teetering on the razor's edge of a new year, the vast majority of the world is preparing to pop champagne, make resolutions, and reset the clock. But for those of us who spend our time staring at the edges of the map, for those of us paying attention, the last 14 days haven't been about celebration. They've been about intrusion. We are currently living through what historians of the paranormal refer to as a flap, although it's not necessarily how John Keel originally described the term when he first coined it. This is a concentrated, high intensity window of high strangeness. If you felt like the news cycle has been weirdly disjointed, or if reality feels a little thin lately, you aren't crazy. We have massive unidentified aerial systems swarming over nuclear assets in New Jersey and Ohio. We have the Pentagon scrambling to plug leaks on a special access program they claim doesn't exist. We have biological data returning from Peru that completely defies human evolutionary tree, or defies the human evolutionary tree, and a global spike in low frequency acoustic anomalies. Tonight, we aren't just reading the headlines. We're taking the last 2 weeks of December in 2025 apart, piece by piece. We're going to define the terms the mainstream news refuses to explain, and we're going to look at the terrifying coherence behind these seemingly separate events. My name is Jeremy, and I'm the host of the Infinite Rabbit Hole podcast. Now that the intro is done, I just want to take a second to kind of explain a few things. As you've noticed, we haven't really uploaded any content lately. Well, it was the new year, right? We have all the holidays going on, and we just said let's take a step back and enjoy being with the family for a little while. Not much, not much wrong with that, right? Everyone needs a break every once in a while, and that's what we did. So I'm gonna spill a bunch of the beans today. You're going to see a whole new infinite rabbit hole in this new year. And it's really going to be based around more content for you. Not to sound cocky or anything, but I've kind of felt like I've been hitting my stride lately. I've been doing a lot of really cool things with this community, and things are really taking off. It's pretty sweet, to be honest with you. The book has been coming along greatly. The book that I've been writing for 2 years now. I think I finally landed on how I want to format the podcast happily. Instead of forming two podcasts, I'm just going to stick with one. As you can see, that the Infinite Rabbit Hole doc series released. The thumbnail for it was attached to the John Teeter episode, which, by the way, I want to say that we had a review on that, and someone claiming that it was AI. It is not. I did all the research myself for it. Spent a lot of money on books for that. Spent a lot of money on things that my wife would be totally upset for me doing. But sadly, it is not AI. I do apologize for those that want it to be so badly, but it's not. That's not how I work. I'll use AI for things like art. I'm not an artist, but I can read and write just fine, and I can explain things just fine. I don't need AI to do that. It's actually my biggest hobby that I love to do is learn and expel that knowledge onto others for their own benefit. And I'm not going to use AI for that. So if anybody ever has a question about Infinite Rabbit Hole using AI for content purposes, it's wrong. Artwork, yeah, I'll admit to that. Okay, come at me. I don't care. But not for content. Either way, this is kind of what I'm gonna be doing for you guys. I kind of explained it a little bit last time with Jake on the last episode, but really, I've been just kind of at this end, if you will, where I don't know necessarily how to do things because I'm super overwhelmed with all the stuff that I am doing. So I'm going to tie it all together, right? Um, get with the times. It is what it is. Um, sorry. I'm reading through the comments right now. So I do apologize for that. Anybody listening. Um, so instead of separating my own personal research and Infinite Rabbit Hole, I'm just going to marry them together. Why not? Right? I'll give you guys more of a peek into what's going on and how I think, and you guys get to enjoy some of the research that I've been doing. So the only real work that I have to do is kind of script it together for you guys. Yeah, it's going to be a bit more scripted when I'm by myself, but that's just because I'm giving it to you guys in a format that I feel best fits, and that you guys can digest it instead of me just going off on random rabbit holes and confusing everybody and myself. So that's what we're gonna do, and we're gonna close out 2025 with a just a end of the year news, really, on the things that I've been really fascinating with lately, and been dumping all of my research into, other than my book, which will be out soon. I'm really excited about it. It's really coming along great. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the first topic. Now, I want to start with a story that is arguably the most tangible threat to national security that we've seen in decades, really. And that's the December drone crisis. Now, if you live on the East Coast, specifically near New Jersey or near Dayton, Ohio, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Around mid-December, reports started flooding in. But I want to be very specific about the nomenclature here, because the word drone is doing a lot of heavy lifting for the government right now. When you hear drone, you think of a DJI quadcopter you buy at Best Buy. Maybe 2 feet wide, that annoying buzzing noise, a 30-minute battery life. That is not what is currently parking itself over the Bedminster area or Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Witnesses, credible witnesses, including law enforcement and military personnel, are describing mothership-class platforms. These are car-sized, sometimes larger, rigid structures. They are silent, and most terrifyingly, they are stationary in high winds that would ground commercial traffic. To understand what we're looking at, we have to break down a concept called signature management. In a modern warfare, if you fly a jet, the goal is to reduce your radar cross-section, your heat signature, and your acoustic footprint. You want to be a ghost. You want to be invisible. The objects seen over New Jersey in the last 2 weeks are practicing what we call selective signature management. They are huge. They are visible to the naked eye. They have bright running lights. They want to be seen by the public. But on radar, they are often intermittent, or they appear as a mere clutter. This isn't just technology. This is a psychological tactic. In intelligence circles, this is known as a demonstration of impunity. Think about it. If I fly a stealth jet over your house, I'm spying on you. But if I park a car-sized object with bright lights 500 feet above your backyard for 3 hours and the greatest air force on earth doesn't shoot it down, I'm telling you that your protectors are powerless. This leads us to a term often used in the halls of DARPA: low observable, high manifestation. Usually, if a craft is low observable on radar, it stays dark. But these objects are pulling a high manifestation stunt, pulsing lights in the visible spectrum while simultaneously using active electronic countermeasures to spoof our sensors. When our pilots get a radar lock, the return signal shimmers or duplicates. It's a hall of mirrors. We aren't just failing to catch them. We are being shown that our current sensor fusion, the way our jets talk to our satellites, can be hacked by a physical presence in the sky. We are also seeing a failure of kinetic solutions in conventional defense. If a drone enters restricted airspace, you use jamming or directed energy, basically a laser or a high-powered microwave, to fry its circuits. But reports from the New Jersey incidents suggest these objects possess Faraday cage integrity on a level we can't penetrate. They are effectively immune to electromagnetic pulses, or EMPs. When our local electronic warfare units attempted to sever the link between the pilot and the craft, they found nothing. No control signal, no uplink. This points to onboard autonomous AI, or more radically, a propulsion system that doesn't rely on traditional electronics at all. I think that's extremely fascinating. And if anybody feels the need for me to expand upon that at some point, please let me know. And I can always revisit it in a later episode. And that goes for any of these topics. If you guys ever want to hear more about it, just let me know. These are just the topics that I'm finding currently very interesting. So there's a good chance that week by week we'll revisit some of these topics as I learn more about it. And I feel like you guys should be filled in. But for right now, that's about all I have on that topic. But right now, let's go ahead and move into the next one for the night. This is going to be really quick stuff. These in-between episodes that I typically do with Jeff and Jake are going to be typically pretty quick. This is just update stuff. Like I said, I want to get more content out to you. So please excuse the rapid fire progression of these episodes. But I'm excited about this stuff, so I want to fill you in. So between December 13th and 17th, the airspace over Wright Pat was closed. For those of you who don't know, this is the home of NASIC, the National Air and Space Intelligence Center. If there is anywhere in the world where the U.S. government keeps its crashed saucer, secrets, the folklore, and the data points to Dayton, and the data points to Dayton. The official statement is that small UAS systems breached the perimeter, but look at the timing. These incursions happened simultaneously with the New Jersey sightings. This suggests a coordinated effort. We need to talk about swarm intelligence. This is a concept from the robotics and computer science. A single drone is a dumb terminal, but a swarm operates like a hive mind. Think ants or bees. They share sensor data simultaneously. If you lock radar on one, the others scatter or flank you. The reports coming out of Ohio suggest these objects were not just flying, they were reacting to base defenses in real time. This leaves us with two very uncomfortable options. Options A foreign adversary, likely China, has leapfrogged U.S. anti-drone tech so thoroughly they can paralyze our top intelligence base with impunity. Or option B, these aren't Chinese. We also have to look at emergent behavior in a swarm. No single unit is the leader. They operate on a decentralized mesh network. If the U.S. military attempted to jam the frequency of one drone, the rest of the swarm would instantly pivot to a secondary, perhaps even quantum encryption. This mirrors the Ballender memo logic from the 1960s. That these objects don't just fly. They perform maneuvers that defy our understanding of inertia and propulsion. If Wright Pat is indeed the site of Foreign Technology Division legacy programs, then what we saw this December wasn't just a patrol. It was a homecoming or a challenge. Someone or something was checking to see if we've made any progress on the hardware we've been hiding since 1947. This isn't the first time Dayton has been surveyed. Historically, whenever there is a breakthrough in our own reverse engineering programs, specifically at Area B, we see a spike in local sightings. It's almost as if the neighbors are checking our homework. There is a concept in intelligence called technical intelligence, or TechInt. By hovering over Wright Pat, these swarms are likely vacuuming up every bit of telemetry and radio frequency leaking from the base. They aren't just scaring us. They are performing a diagnostic audit of our most sensitive capabilities. They know exactly what we have, and they are demonstrating that our secret tech is to them completely transparent. So, covered Jersey, covered Right Pat. Now, let's move into the Pentagon. Now, while the skies were filling up with hardware, the Pentagon was fighting a war on paper. I'm talking about the Immaculate Constellation leak. In the last 10 days, independent journalists have doubled down on the existence of this program. For those new to this rabbit hole, Immaculate Constellation is alleged to be the parent program for collecting UAP imagery and sensor data. The Pentagon issued a specific denial this week, and to understand why that matters and why you shouldn't trust it, I need to explain the concept of the USAP, the Unacknowledged Serial Access Program. In the US government, there is secret, there is top secret, and then there is SAP. A special access program requires a specific need to know. You can have top secret clearance and still not be allowed anywhere near a SAP, but it goes deeper. There are waived SAPs. These are programs so sensitive that the requirement to report them to Congress is, if you guessed it, waived. Only a handful of people, sometimes fewer than 10 in the entire executive branch, know they exist. They are funded by what we call the black budget, money that is hidden inside other mundane appropriations like toilet seat maintenance or miscellaneous logistics. When the Pentagon denies a program by name, they are often playing a word game. If the program was renamed last week from Immaculate Constellation to Project Zodiac, they can legally look into a camera and say Immaculate Constellation does not exist. The anomaly here is the panic. Sources are reporting an internal leak hunt right now that is unprecedented. You don't hunt for leaks of a fairy tale, folks. You hunt for leaks of the truth. The reason this leak is so dangerous to the establishment is because of compartmentalization. The Pentagon operates under Title 10, the military, and Title 50, intelligence. Immaculate Constellation is rumored to sit in the inner seas, the cracks between these two laws. This allows the program to bypass the Gang of Eight, the 8 members of Congress who are supposed to be briefed on all intelligence matters. By classifying the data as foreign instrumentation signals intelligence, they can hide high-definition multispectral video of UAPs behind a wall of national security that even the president might not be able to peek over. The panic we are seeing now is because someone finally found the door to the vault, and the Pentagon is desperate to move the vault before we see what's inside. What Immaculate Constellation supposedly holds is MASINT, or Measurement and Signature Intelligence. We're talking about high-speed multispectral data that tracks the warp bubble or gravitational distortion these craft create. We've talked about this before, specifically in the episode titled, actually I don't remember what the title is, something along the lines of External Lighting on UAP. Go back to that for reference. The reason the Pentagon is terrified of this leaking is because it proves the craft are transmedium. They don't just fly. They move through air, water, and space without changing their physical structure. If the public sees a 4K video of a car-sized object diving into the Atlantic at Mach 3 without a splash, the foreign drone narrative collapses instantly. The leak hunt isn't about protecting secrets from China, it's about protecting the status quo from a paradigm shift that would rewrite every physics textbook on Earth. The ferocity of the crackdown in the last 2 weeks tells us that Immaculate Constellation, or whatever it's called today, is very real, and it holds the high-resolution data we've been begging for. Sorry, just reading comments. So let's move on to the next bit. We went Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Pentagon. Now, we're going to go to Peru. quite a bit of a leap. But we've talked about this before too, and there's some amazing news coming out about this particular subject. So let's pivot. We're going to move from high-tech surveillance to something ancient. While we watch the skies, something profound has resurfaced in the Nazca Desert of Peru. The Nazca mummies, I know, I can hear you rolling your eyes. You've heard the debunking. They're made of llama skulls. It's paper mache. But in late December, a new independent analysis, the so-called Abraxas report, was released, and it complicates the hoax narrative significantly. To understand why, we need to explain a biological concept called comparative osteology. This is the study of bones across different species. If you fake a skeleton, you assemble it. You take a bone from a dog, a bone from a human, and you glue them together. Under an X-ray or CT scan, this is obvious. You see glue, you see cuts, and most importantly, you see mismatched articulations. An articulation is simply where two bones meet to form a joint. In a living creature, joints rub together over years of life, walking, grabbing, moving. They develop specific wear patterns, like a key fitting into a lock. The new report from late December focuses on the tridactyl, or three-fingered hands of these specimens. The analysis claims that the joints show biological wear. The bones fit together perfectly, showing signs of growth and friction that only occur if the organism was alive and moving those fingers for years. They also addressed the desiccation. These bodies weren't wrapped in linen like Egyptian mummies. They are desiccated, dried out by diatomaceous earth. Diatomaceous earth. I butchered that. The skin is continuous. The report claims there are no sutures, no cuts, no seams where parts were stitched together. If this data holds up, and that remains a big if, we are not looking at a hoax. We are looking at a distinct non-human terrestrial species that lived alongside us. A species that, for some reason, had three fingers and toes, a trait that appears in folklore globally. Why is this hitting the news now, during the drone flap? High strangeness rarely happens in a vacuum. Let's look at the genomic anomaly. Early DNA sequencing on these specimens, specifically the one known as Maria, showed a roughly 30% match to known human markers, but the remaining percentage, it wasn't junk DNA or animal contamination, it was unidentified. In the world of genetics, that is a bombshell. It suggests a divergent evolution that hasn't existed in the fossil record for millions of years. This ties back to the Silurian hypothesis, the idea that a high-tech, non-human civilization could have existed on Earth long before humans, leaving behind nothing but anomalies and occasional remnants in the drones in the Midwest are biological or autonomous. We have to ask, are we seeing the return of the owners of these ancient bones? And then there's the structural paradox. The Abraxas report highlights that these specimens have pneumaticized bones, hollow, like a bird's, but reinforced with a high concentration of calcium and unknown metallic trace elements. This structure is incredibly light, but capable of withstanding immense G-forces. If you were to design a biological entity to survive the rapid non-inertial starts and stops we see in the New Jersey drone swarms, it would look exactly like this. We're seeing a one-for-one correlation between the ancient biological design found in Peru and the modern flight characteristics seen over our nuclear silos. It suggests that while the skin of the technology changes, the pilot has remained the same for thousands of years. I am way behind on the chat, guys, so I apologize for that. So, moving on to the next bit. I want to say, yeah, all right, so we're going to move to the skies again, but not necessarily because of drones. We're going to revisit a topic that we talked about a long time ago. Over the last 10 days, coincident with the drone sightings in the Midwest and the UK, The World Hum Map, a database where citizens report unexplained noises, has lit up red. We need to understand the physics of sound to grasp why this matters. Humans hear roughly between 20 hertz and 20,000 hertz. Anything below 20 hertz is called infrasound. And we can't hear infrasound with your ears, but you can feel it. It resonates in the chest cavity. It causes anxiety, nausea, and a feeling of being watched. This is known as psychoacoustics. The military has actually researched infrasound as a non lethal weapon to induce dread in enemy troops. The reports coming in from Ohio and New Jersey describe a vibration in the air even when the drones appear silent. There is a theory gaining traction this week that the propulsion systems of these large mothership drones generate massive amounts of infrasound. They might be silent to the ear, but they are incredibly loud to the body. If you have been feeling unexplained anxiety, insomnia, or a pressure in your ears over the last 2 weeks, you might be detecting these craft before you even see them. It suggests that our airspace is being permeated by a technology that interacts with our biology on a frequency we are not evolved to process. UFologists call this the Oz effect. It's that sudden heavy silence where the birds stop chirping and the wind seems to freeze. We now know this is a psychological, a physiological response to high intensity electromagnetic fields and infrasound. It triggers the amygdala, the, the amygdala, the brain's fear center. This December, the spike in the hum suggests that the deployment is global. From the Bristol hum in the UK to the Taos hum in New Mexico, the frequency is stabilizing. This isn't just noise pollution, it's environmental conditioning. We are being bathed in a frequency that keeps the population in a state of low level adrenal fatigue, making us less likely to react rationally and more likely to simply submit to the new reality. Finally, we have to look at the Schumann resonance, the Earth's heartbeat at 7.83 hertz. There is a fringe but terrifying hypothesis that these motherships are using global atmospheric coupling by vibrating at a specifically low frequency. They may be using the Earth's ionosphere as a giant antenna. This would explain why the hum is felt globally, even in areas with no drone sightings. It's not just a localized engine noise, it's a planet-wide broadcast, whether this is a communication we aren't equipped to hear or a geophysical weapon meant to destabilize our tectonic plates. The result is the same. The environment of our planet is being tuned to a different station, and we are the ones caught in the static. So how do we tie this all together? We have the skies filled with craft that display impunity over our nuclear sites. We have the government aggressively silencing internal programs that study these craft. We have physical evidence from the past suggesting we have never been alone on this planet. And we have a visceral physical signal, the hum, permeating our homes. The last 2 weeks of 2025 haven't just been news. They have been a signal. The barrier between normal and paranormal is thinning. The flap isn't just happening to us. It includes us. My advice for the new year, keep looking up. But also, trust your gut. If the air feels heavy, if the silence feels wrong, pay attention. We're in a new era of history, and the history books haven't been written yet. So, that's it, everybody. That's all I have for today's episode. It's a short one, about 30 minutes long, if that. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you guys have a safe new year. I hope everybody had a great time with family and friends on the holidays, and I hope everyone has goals set out for 2026. Mine is doing exactly what I did right here, providing more content for you guys. And I appreciate you guys doing what you do, checking in with the Infinite Rabbit Hole, sending me messages all the time, asking me, why hasn't the Infinite Rabbit Hole come out in 2 weeks? Yet again, if you missed it at the front end, it's literally just because it's the holidays. We just took a couple weeks off. We'll be back. And I've been working heavily on the book. So I'm very, very, very excited about that. But until next time, travelers, maybe even tomorrow, I'm not sure. We'll see what I get caught up in my research today. See if there's anything interesting to feed you tomorrow. But until next time, travelers, we'll see you right here in the next fork in the path of the Infinite Rabbit Hole. Happy New Year's. Bye, everybody.